Hi everyone, I'm David Rose. I'm the CEO of PRSONAS. Thanks to Matt and FirstMark for having us out. We're going to talk about holograms tonight. So there are holograms. We're going to talk about how they can scale what we call the one-to-one human experience. And we'll give you a couple of examples of use cases and do a couple of demos. Now there's two terms I think for this group we need to define before we get too far into our talk tonight. The first term we need to define is y'all. And when I say y'all, what that means is all y'all. Okay, so that's the first term. The second term we need to define is hologram. So in 2017, there is no such thing as a scientific hologram a la Obi-Wan Kenobi, please help me, you're my only hope. Okay, so hate to burst your bubble, that technology has not yet been invented. We're looking forward to that day. So most people think about the most famous quote-unquote hologram in the 21st century is that of Tupac. Have anybody seen the Tupac performance at Coachella? Right, so that's a really famous hologram. So to further burst your bubble on how that works, it's essentially a holographic projection system. So what you'll notice is, if you've seen the performance, Snoop Dogg looks like he's performing right beside Tupac back from the dead. What you have is a screen that's the full length of the stage. It's probably 40 feet long, and it has a holographic film on it. And there's a projector system that comes down at a 45-degree angle and comes up. And what happens is it looks like it's 3D from the front. It looks like a full 3D, much like my woman right here. But from the side, it's only a 1/4 inch thick. So it's really 2.5D, and we're just going to call that a holographic projection. Again, sorry, it's not really a hologram. So if Tupac's a hologram, then this is a hologram too, damn it. All right, so here's kind of the problem we're going after. On the left-hand side here, you have a lot of really exciting, highly scalable, very disruptive technologies. And the space we're thinking about where the problem exists is in the real world, right, where brands actually deal with living, breathing customers. So on the far side, you have great scalable technology. On the right-hand side, you have rock star employees. And there's a big gap here in the middle in this, where these real-world human experiences happen between brands and their customers. What we see as an opportunity is using mixed reality holograms to help solve and fill this gap, right? So because they're computers, they can speak any language. They can do real-time SMS with customers. They can integrate video into the user experience, and as you'll see in a moment, they can even do sign language. And what's super interesting about this is that people treat these like real people because they are greeted when they walk up automatically. So you're actually building an emotional connection with the device in something that's very unusual to any other type of technology interface. So one of the things that we think is a great example when we talk about scaling the human one-to-one experiences, because our holograms are computers, they can do sign language. And I'll do that demo in just a second. But we're based in Durham, North Carolina. That's where the y'all thing came from earlier. We're right down the street from Duke Hospital. If you go to Duke Hospital's main entrance and walk in the door, if you're a deaf person, I feel certain there is a translator there to help you with sign language. But I'm also equally certain if you get sent to the orthopedic outpatient clinic, there is no one there, right? So there really should be a way for brands not only to serve multilingual customers, right, if you speak Spanish or Mandarin or Portuguese, but really should be able to serve the deaf community, whether that be in a medical setting, government setting, transportation. And there's really no effective way to do that right now because depth matters. If you just put it on a flat screen, a lot of times it just doesn't work. So as you start thinking about what kind of technology, underlying technology it takes to kind of deliver these one-to-one human experiences, it really becomes, and AI is a really big word, but it's really an AI system underneath, because what happens is the units can take an input, and that input could be facial recognition, it could be a proximity sensor, it could be an HTML touchscreen, it could be a third-party device, and then deliver an intelligent human response based on that input, much the way a rock star employee would in the real world. So you also want to build a layer underneath where you can connect to enterprise applications and devices. And then in the middle here, you have a front-end system. So you can collect detailed analytics on all these interactions. So another challenge for brands interacting with customers in the real world is there's not a good way to collect analytics for real-world interactions like you do online. Online, you can collect lots of great data. In the real world, there's no good way to do that right now. So again, if you can collect detailed analytics on all those interactions, and then essentially use a content management system to optimize the user experience of the device. So think about this part as being a closed-loop marketing tool, right? So use your analytics, adjust your content accordingly. So one thing that we discovered recently, by accident, we were talking with the HoloLens strategy team when we were in Redmond, and we determined that kind of the way that the holograms are built right now can be deployed across any AR, VR platform, right? So I'm gonna do an AR demo for you here in a few minutes, but we have the device, and the device is important because I think about the business a little bit differently now. You know, Reed Hastings, when he launched Netflix, knew he wanted to stream internet videos, right? But when he started the company 15 years ago, the infrastructure wasn't just there. So he had to have the DVD for distribution. He had to have that distribution method in the near term. So I'm thinking about the device in the hologram world right now being the equivalent of the DVD, right? If we kind of planted our hat on, hey, we're gonna deliver AR one-to-one human user experiences, we might starve to death in the near term, right? So it's really important that we have that distribution method, but at some point, you know, there's gonna be other things happening. Now, is my mom gonna start wearing a Magic Leap headset next year? Probably not, but that day is coming. I think the future of computer is visual, and holograms can kind of play on all those cycles. So there are real companies using holograms in real customer settings today. This isn't something that's just being tinkered with in the garage, right? So a lot of really great brands are using the technology right now. And so I want to talk through 3 use cases, then we'll do a quick demo, or 2 demos, and take your questions. So this is the first use case. So Staples, I'm sure everyone's been to a Staples before. If you go to the Staples Print Center, there's typically one poor soul working behind the counter. Now what Staples wants that person to do is be selling higher margin solutions that they have. They have lots of solutions. But what that person really does is answer the same 5 questions all day long. How do I print this off my USB? How to make a scan of this document? How can I use your color printer, right? So the general idea in this setting is you can have a hologram to serve as the concierge captain. They can not only answer those questions repeatedly over and over, they can do it in any language, and they can even one-up it. You can integrate videos into the user experience. You can show someone how to use the device, or you can send a real-time SMS to their phone that they can take over the device and learn how to use it that way. So again, a pretty interesting place as a concierge or product specialist. There is a really interesting use for holograms when it comes to compliancy. Our company's first 10 projects were all in big pharma, which I thought was really interesting. It turns out it was a compliancy play. So it's a big deal with the FDA if someone who represents a pharma brand says a drug does or doesn't do something that's inaccurate, right? These holograms never go off script, right? They can pronunciate all the really hard to say medical terms with accuracy every time. Just like in pharma where compliancy is a big issue, it turns out in the financial services world, compliancy is a big issue, right? So think about this in a bank setting. There's lots of news about B of A rolling out, humanless branches, right? This would be a nice gap in between. But again, when you're disclosing financial information, every single time they're going to disclose any kind of regulatory information. Who here enjoys the car buying experience? Raise your hand if you like walking on a car lot, right? You walk on a car lot, 15 guys sit on a cigarette and come running at you, right? It's pretty horrible. So this is a project for the launch of the RAV4, where a consumer can come get information on the vehicle. You can come get information about the 3 different trims. You can see product videos. It will text you real-time product information. You can get it in any language, right? And hopefully get you interested enough where you actually want to endure the actual sales cycle. Okay, those are a couple of use cases. I'm going to do a quick demo of the device and then a quick AR demo, and then take a couple questions. So what you'll notice in idle mode is that she just kind of smiles and waves and looks around to get attention. Now, I'm not going to walk up in front of her and do the demo because all you'll see is my backside, and that's not good for anybody. So I'm just going to use a remote. But actually, there's a proximity sensor. When you walk up, she'll automatically engage with the consumer. But I'm going to use this for this.
Hi, how are you? I'm Carolyn, and I'm here to help. What you likely already know is that I'm perfect, if I say so myself, for delivering messages and information for almost any venue. What you may not realize is that I'm able and happy to accommodate whatever you need for your brand, including changes to my clothes, hair, eyes, or even becoming a new character altogether. You want accents in foreign languages? No sweat. I have that covered too. Okay, enough boasting. Just touch the screen below and let me know what interests you.
So it should direct you to it's just HTML5 touchscreen, so that can be anything on there, kind of drive the user experience. Obviously, we're going to be adding natural language processing to the user experience in the near term. Other really popular features to kind of integrate in or include video, so you can include video into the user experience.
I liked Kathy. Yeah, I did. Oh, then you'll love it.
And so she explained it just as someone in here would do. So I thought she was great. No. Okay.
That was shot in Microsoft's Seattle retail store. Pretty fun. You can do real-time SMS. So if you walk up, she'll ask you for your mobile number. I'll punch in mine.
Glad I piqued your interest. If you could leave me your phone number below, I'll get some additional information right out to you. Thanks. You should be receiving.
And so that link is going to send me, that's just go to a PDF, but that link could be to a mobile landing page, could be to a mobile app, it could be to really anything. And I mentioned this earlier, but I think it's a pretty big deal from a value add for consumers. But again, because it's CG, she can speak any language.
PRSONAS ホログラムはセルフサービスのアプリケーションをお届けし、アナリティクスを収集して、どこでも、いつでも、どの言語でもビジネスを行います。
And as I mentioned earlier, her newest skill is sign language. What's interesting about sign language is not only the hand movements, but it's minor head movements and facial expressions are all part of the communication. And this sign are different, so having that depth perception really matters in being able to effectively deliver sign language. All right, I'm going to put her on mute so she doesn't talk over us. I'm going to show you that same user experience. If you remember, what we just saw is basically a one-to-one human user experience that we've done on device. I want to show you that same user experience in AR. The audio is going to work. We're going to find out in a second.
Hi, good to see you. I'm Carolyn. What you likely already know is that I'm perfect, if I say so myself, for delivering messages and information for almost any venue. What you may not realize is that I'm able and happy to accommodate whatever you need for your brand, including changes to my clothes, hair, eyes, or even becoming a new character altogether. You want accents in foreign languages?
So I won't bore you with the exact same demo, but I wanted you to see that it's really can be delivered across really kind of any kind of AR, VR
Just touch
format.
the screen below to let me know what interests you. PRSONAS Holograms delivers self-service app.
All right, so that's the quick demo. I still have even on time, so that's great. So happy to answer any questions as it relates to holograms.
I'll start with one question, and then we have this our yellow cube that we can throw around. Is it operational? Yeah. So very cool. How do you think about the uncanny valley thing? Like, how close do you want to be to a real life person versus a more sort of fictional character?
Yeah, great question. So the question is around uncanny valley, and so for those of you not familiar with that term, it's an academic term that means some certain people experience a discomfort when technology gets too close to the human experience. So I've had this in front of thousands of people at this point, and 90% of the people say, wow, this is really, really cool. But about 10% on average experience uncanny valley, and the super interesting thing to me from a psychology standpoint is when uncanny valley kicks in, 99.9% of the time they use the exact same word. Anybody want to guess? Creepy. That's right. So anytime uncanny valley happens, it's not scary or uncomfortable or strange, it's creepy, which is kind of creepy that every single person says that. So the way to get around that, because this is what's called photorealistic computer-generated imagery. So it looks just like a real person. So we did a project for the Seattle Mariners where we created a 8-foot-tall hologram of Mariner Moose to work on the Pepsi fan deck during the Seattle Mariners baseball games. Nobody has uncanny valley issues with an 8-foot-tall hologram of a moose, because it's clearly not a human, right? So the way you kind of move away from uncanny valley is that you can create a little bit more animated characters. So we actually have a whole list of characters that you can use, and the less photorealistic they are, the more animated they look, the more that goes away.
All right. Question here. Say this.
So I can't help but feel that speech recognition could be a big kind of addition to this. Is that something you guys are working on? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. So what's super interesting about this, I've kind of avoided or kind of pushed off the natural language processing integration because I don't ever want it to be like calling the insurance company, right? No, go back, Matt Turck, no. We don't want that. And I actually had a Fortune 500 CIO busted my chops this week because we don't have NPL built into it. And I said, I had a simple question for you. I said, let me ask you one thing. How many voice-first applications have you rolled out across your enterprise to date? And the answer is 0, because it's a really hard thing to do. So it's something we're going to have to do. If the consumer expects it, frankly, at this point. Alexa is so good, they can expect that natural language processing. So we are adding that this year. And we're going to try and, you're never going to walk up to this thing at the hospital and ask it how tall the Eiffel Tower is, but we can limit that user experience of vocabulary in a way we think would be meaningful in that current setting. So it's something we have to add this year. Great question.
This one over there. Just one more and we'll move.
Okay, so from what I can see, it's not a 3D image. It's a flat 2D image
2.5D.
in a cutout, right? Well, I don't know what the half is.
Half's that
Maybe
quarter
I'm
inch.
not close
Yeah.
enough. I'm sorry?
The half's a quarter inch.
Okay. Why aren't you using a normal panel? What's better about this?
That's a great
Why does
question.
this affect people more?
It does. That's a really great question. And I wish I had some academic research on the psychology behind it. So this is just optics-grade acrylic on the front, and there's a 3D resin on the back. Now we could take this resin and we could put it on those panes of glass over there, and she could walk around. And that sounds really cool, but it just doesn't have the same stopping power. Just this quarter inch, because you put her on a flat panel like that, she becomes a digital signage system. Just that quarter inch gives it 3D look and feel, and people treat this separately. And that's something funny to the brain. You have to look at this, just that little bit of depth. We're in a startup space similar to this in North Carolina called the American Underground. We have a private office, but we have a glass front, and we have a demo unit set up out front. I cannot tell you how many people, when they walk down the hall, when she's in auto mode and wave, unconsciously wave back. Right? They treat her like a human. So just that quarter inch, and it's called parallaxing. So if you walk past her, because the foreground and background move at different speeds, it gives it real depth. If you put it on a flat piece of glass, that whole dimension of the user experience goes away. We've tried it. This just has 99.9% higher stopping power. It does something funny to the brain than putting it on a flat piece of glass. I hope to one day have some academic research on that.
All right, very cool. Thanks very much, David.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.